Sumobra lang din po siguro ako sa tanga kasi nagtiwala po ako.
No, don't say tanga. Madali kayo magtiwala sa tao dahil akala nyo lahat ng tao katulad ninyo mabait. Hindi po, maraming loko-loko dito sa mundo.
Kapag hindi kaya naging faithful sa Diyos, magiging sumpa yun sa iyo.
당신은 내가 지옥으로 끌고 갈 겁니다. 지옥이 당신의 종착역이 될 거예요.
Earlier this year, the World Health Organization officially recognized compulsive sexual behavior as a disorder. They define it as a persistent pattern of failure to control intense, repetitive sexual impulses or urges resulting in repetitive sexual behavior.
How do you clinically define sex addiction?
Well, the living of a double life is one way to really define sex addiction. So when someone is publicly portraying themselves in one way and then living very, very differently on the side, very, very differently in secret, and living and holding that double life, that is a really clear sign of an addictive process going on.
Sex addiction is not a moral deficiency. Sex addiction is a disease. It's a mental illness characterized by a behavioral disorder.
Sexual addiction is an out-of-control disorder where people lose control over their behaviors, they feel deeply ashamed of it, and they have mounting consequences, and yet they still can't stop.
You don't have control over their recovery. They're going to need to want it in order to get better. So it's helpful for you to know what you're in if you're in a relationship with an addict, but you can't control your partner. Let's talk about what to look for. So one of the first things to look for if you're in a relationship with an addict is volatility with their emotions. When an addict is using whatever, what they're not doing is processing and feeling their emotions. And so they'll be really high and really low. And that volatility is a sign that they're not coping with their emotions in a healthy way. Another indicator of addiction is shame and defensiveness. An addict usually has a lot to hide. And because they have a lot to hide, it means they have a hard time being vulnerable, empathetic, intimate, and connected in relationships. So attachment problems start to happen because there's a lot of secrecy going on. The next thing to look for is just that, secrecy. When you're in a relationship with an addict, you'll find that there's a lot of lies going on. And you'll start to notice those lies, and you'll realize they're not an honest person. Addiction and denial are best friends. So somebody in a lot of denial doesn't live in reality, and they're able to skew things and manipulate things. So manipulation, denial, secrecy are all part of addiction. Another thing to notice is compulsive behavior. If they're saying they want to stop something and they really desire to quit, but they continue to go back to it over and over and over again, that's a good sign of addiction. Going along with that, addiction has this thing called tolerance, where they look at something for a little while and then it's just not enough. And it leads to other things. It leads to riskier behaviors, things that they don't really want to do, but they push limits because they have to push those limits in order to get the same hit that they used to get.
In your first 20 years of marriage, how many women did you have affairs with?
I think it's around 30 to 35.
And then there were prostitutes in addition?
Yeah.
And then there was pornography in addition?
Yep.
Why couldn't you be faithful?
Yeah, I tried to be. I tried. You're just completely powerless against this thing that takes you over, whether you want to call it an addiction or a disorder, whatever label you want to put on it.
I never thought about who I was hurting. Instead, I thought only about myself. I ran straight through the boundaries that a married couple should live by. I thought I could get away with whatever I wanted to. I felt that I had worked hard my entire life and deserved to enjoy all the temptations around me. I felt I was entitled. Thanks to money and fame, I didn't have to go far to find them. I was wrong. I was foolish. I don't get to play by different rules. The same boundaries that apply to everyone apply to me. I brought this shame on myself. I hurt my wife, my kids, my mother, my wife's family, my friends, my foundation, and kids all around the world who admired me.